Hello and greetings from Iceland. Today's video is all about the enormous volcano Askja on the Central Highlands and tourist safety, since a well-known volcanologist stated in the media just 2 days ago that he wants the authorities to close the area now. And this is big. The backstory is the fact that the land uplift started there 2 years ago, 60 centimeters in total, and still going on, 3 centimeters every month now. But the seismic activity has not been as much as one would expect though, so it still seems to be plenty of room for more magma under there. But scientists from Cambridge came to the conclusion that the volume of magma could be around 10 to 100 cubic kilometers, which is a huge amount, and leaves us with plenty of room for speculations. But the bottom line is that this is one of our large systems. It is getting ready for an eruption that could be huge. And last winter, the ice on the lake melted for some reason. Things got hot for a while, and we started to wonder if Askja would be the next big blast in Iceland. And Askja is a popular tourist destination, even though it's on the highlands, where we only have the wet bridges to cross many of the rivers. The road is only open from June and into September, and the volcano is a part of the Vatnajökull Glacier National Park. There are land wardens there and a certain framework to ensure the safety of tourists and some tourist infrastructure. And I have now in 2023, like before, been recommending this destination since I didn't expect anything to be going on there very soon, according to our experts that have been saying that there will be some warnings, or until 2 days ago when this volcanologist in this interview says that in case of an eruption, with all those people in the area, we know how it's going to turn out, and should we take such chances? And this is actually a scientist that has been working on research on White Island, New Zealand, or before the 2019 disaster when 21 tourists died, and he is saying now that when he looks back at the White Island disaster, he is thinking about Askja, where we have tourists every day. This happens to be one of our best known volcanologists. He is in the news more often than any politician, and he has always been outspoken about things, and often proved to be right about the things to come. So this blunt statement caused quite a stir. So when we compare this situation with the Reykjanes Peninsula, that area has been categorized as acceptable risk. Visitors are made aware of the danger, but as for Askja, this volcanologist made it clear that the risk there was not acceptable. So this is also a big deal for his colleagues at the Civil Defense. It's a big deal for the national park, the tourist industry around Askja, and my channel, of course, since I have been covering those safety issues since 2021 and recommending Askja trips as perhaps the last chance to see this landscape, and I do want to stay within the bounds of reason when I discuss these things. So yesterday I sent an email to the Vatnajökull National Park. I asked them if they had made any evacuation plans for this summer, or would this be like just any other summer? And they told me that they work in accordance with the Civil Defense Response Plan, and they do have their own response plan with the annual emergency drills, which for the last 2 years have been about eruptions in Askja. And I was glad to hear that. And this has been discussed already, this is taken seriously, but again it's up to the Civil Defense to decide if the park will be closed. So it is very obvious now that the Civil Defense, the scientists there, they do have some new pressure now from a colleague. And I'm curious to see where this is going to lead us. But the plan as it is now is that the Civil Defense is not going to evacuate the region until the volcano starts to rumble more than it does now. Or while the professor who wants this area closed is saying it could be too late. And even though I'm not qualified to say who's right or not, there are a few things that are quite obvious. And I'm not just talking about an eruption. First, we would most likely get some earthquakes, and when we look over the lake, the southern rim is very unstable. And in 2014, a landslide measuring around 60 million cubic meters fell into the lake, making it the largest landslide known to have fallen since Iceland was settled more than 1100 years ago. Water levels in the lake rose over 2 meters and a tsunami wave, 20 to 30 meters high, traveled across the lake. And luckily, this occurred around midnight. No tourists around, so we know it for sure that earthquakes alone can lead to catastrophic events with those unstable craterrims. And when I did my full Askja video a few months back, and I'm linking to it, I was amazed how extremely unpredictable and versatile this volcanic system is. The 1875 eruption came as a result from a rifting episode with different types of eruptions. But this time it's just this huge amount of magma accumulating under there. The epicenter is almost under the lake and the magma chamber is at a little depth. And I've heard different versions of how the next eruption might play out. That tells me that we simply don't know. But we do know that magma and water don't mix that well. And I've heard some extremely explosive versions of what is to come. But other versions are more moderate. Like the island in the lake is from an eruption in 1926. That was more and less a tourist eruption. So eruptions under the lake doesn't necessarily mean some catastrophic events. But with this huge amount of magma that scientists have been talking about, we are very likely looking at a big event. And the best word to describe this is uncertainty. We just don't know what we are dealing with. So when we take the Askja caldera and place it on the Reykjanes Peninsula in the right proportions and outline the capital region as well, we can see what kind of monster this is. And after the last major eruption, somewhere around 20% of the Icelandic nation migrated to USA and Canada. So as for Askja now, we might get lucky. Several small tourist eruptions like in the 1920s and again in 1961, but we might be looking at a bummer. Major explosive eruption with little or no time to evacuate. So what the civil defense has to do now is to calculate, is the risk acceptable to have people around there? Or will they try to go the middle way, like to try to limit the traffic and make the risk absolutely clear to visitors? Enter at your own risk and don't stay for too long. It's not for me to say. It would be a bummer if Askja would be closed the rest of the summer. This is so special place, but a bit worthless when we can't see it and inhale the weird nature around, this unearthly landscape and geology. And I had planned a trip up there next week. I've been looking forward to it all summer. And I found myself wondering today, should I cancel the trip? And I'm actually still thinking about it. I need more information. But I will for sure be somewhere near Askja, and the Askja area will remain open next weekend, or until the civil defense will meet next week. So this might be my last chance to visit Askja with the landscape that we have now. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.